Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Wyman. We're back for Microeconomics, Chapter 5, and I've decided to do something a little different just to get these videos down to a shorter, more manageable amount of time. So I'm just going to focus on calculating elasticity. And hopefully that will help you when you're doing your homework and your tests, and you can have these examples with you when you're doing your work. So hopefully you'll like this better and it will be more beneficial to you. So let's get to it. I still have it on a PowerPoint, but the slides are much fewer. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you. I think. Oh, okay. So here's the PowerPoint, and let's just get it going this way. All right. So we're talking about the price elasticity of demand and supply. And I wanted to tell you why it's important for economists and business people to know about elasticity. So it's important to know because it indicates how much of a good or service buyers consume when prices change. So when a product is elastic, a change in price quickly results in a change in the quantity demanded, which will then result in a change in the quantity supplied. So demand always drives supply. So when there's a change in demand, there's going to be a change in supply. So that's why it's important. So what's the formula for elasticity? So this little d means demand, and this little s means supply, and E just stands for elasticity. So this is the formula for elasticity of demand, percent change in quantity demanded over percent change in price. So where E demanded equals the elasticity coefficient. So the coefficient in this case just means the number that you calculate to. So the formula is the same for supply, except this little d is an S instead of a D. So that's simple, right? Okay, so how do you know if the elasticity coefficient, or the answer, is elastic, if it's inelastic, or if it's unitary elastic? So if it's elastic, the small percent change in price brings about an infinite percent change in quantity demanded or quantity supplied. So the number is going to be greater than 1. When I see the number, I mean the answer to the calculation will be greater than 1. If it's inelastic, quantity demanded, quantity supplied does not change as the price changes. The calculated response will be less than 1. And if it's unitary, you guessed it, it's going to be equal to 1. So the percent change in quantity demanded or quantity supplied is equal to the percent change in price. It equals 1. So this is how you know if it's elastic, inelastic, or unitary. So we are going to be concentrating on midpoints formula for the price of elasticity of demand. So what's really important is this second part right here. When you look at your book, this looks like they don't have this part in parentheses, so it looks like this divided by that divided by 2. Just make sure, and I'm going to show you some examples that I wrote out on paper here in a moment, that you are dividing the bottom number by 2, not the top number, okay? Divided by change in price, sum of prices divided by 2. So they can be expressed this way. If you see this little triangle, this is the delta sign, meaning change. You should be seeing that a lot in your work. So this would say elasticity of demand equals percent change in quantity demanded over percent change in price. So the formula then is quantity 2 minus quantity 1 plus quantity 2 over P2 minus P1 plus P2. So the first Q1 is the first quantity demanded, second quantity demanded, and then the first price and the second price. So we're using the midpoints formula. This is a problem that we're going to do. We're going to be looking at this lower section. Therefore, the first point on the total revenue curve is 0, 0. We're using midpoints, so you can find the total revenue at each of the prices. So sometimes you will see a schedule like this. So the midpoint is this, right? You have 3 above and you have 3 below. So this 24 and 32 are the midpoint. And this is what we're going to be using. And the price is 120 and 100. So these are the 4 numbers that we're going to use for quantity and price. So when you look at this explanation here, you can read this for yourself, but what I wanted to get to is how you actually do the calculation. And this is what I was talking about right here. When you see this Q2 minus Q1 over Q2 plus Q1 over 2, you might think that you're doing this calculation and then you're doing this calculation and dividing those 2 numbers, and then you're dividing that by 2, but it's not that. This Q2 plus Q1 over 2, that should really be in parentheses. I don't know why it isn't, but it should be. So I had this written out on a paper, so we're going to go to that, and I'm going to show you how I calculated it. Same thing with this, the P2 plus P1 over 2, that should be in parentheses. And here it is written out. So we have, this is the formula, percent change for quantity demanded, Q2 minus Q1 over Q2 plus Q1 over 2. And you see how I have this in parentheses. So I'm doing this operation first, 32 minus 24 equals 8. And then I'm doing 32 plus 24 divided by 2. So 32 plus 24 is 56. Divide that by 2 is 28. 8 divided by 28 equals 28.57%. Then you have percent change in price. So P2 minus P1 over P2 plus P1 over 2, again in parentheses, is 100 minus 120 equals 20. 100 plus 120 is 220 over 2, again, parentheses. So 220 over 2 is 110. Divide 20 by 110 is 18.18%. And then you divide the 2 percentages, 28.57% divided by 18.18% equals 1.57%. And since it's greater than 1, it's elastic. So hopefully looking at your work and then looking at this example will help you. Okay, so calculating the price elasticity of supply. Raphael is a stay-at-home parent who lives in Philadelphia and teaches tennis lessons for extra cash. We don't care. All we care about are the numbers. At a wage of $40 an hour, he is willing to teach 7 hours per week at $50 per hour. He is willing to teach 10 hours per week. So let's see how this calculates out. So we have the percent change in quantity supplied, right? So it's Q2 minus Q1 over Q2 plus Q1 divided by 2. And then we have the formula down here, or the actual numbers. And the percent change in price is P2 minus P1, P2 plus P1 over 2. So let's walk through it over here. Percent change in quantity supplied, quantity 2 minus quantity 1, and quantity 2 plus quantity 1 divided by 2, again, parentheses. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 10 plus 7 is 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. 3 divided by 8.5 is 35.29%. Then we look at the percent change in price, P2 minus P1 over P2 plus P1 over 2 in parentheses. So we have 50 minus 40 is 10. 50 plus 40 is 90 divided by 2 is 45. 10 divided by 45 is 22.22%. We divide 35.29 by 22.22 and equal 1.59. This is an elastic supply because it's greater than 1. So this is just a little chart that I left in here because I wanted you to have this available to you. So price elasticity of demand, if it's elastic, the coefficient is greater than 1. Just remember, coefficient is the amount that you calculated to. The price goes down, total revenue goes up. If it's elastic is greater than 1, the price goes up, revenue goes down. Unitary elastic, there's no change. Everything's the same. Inelastic, if it's less than 1, the price goes down, total revenue goes down. Inelastic, if it's less than 1, the price goes up, total revenue goes up. And that's it as far as what I wanted to make sure we went over this week, and hopefully you're going to be fine with the rest of the work. So you have your homework and your quiz, and you should be good. All right, so send me an email if you have questions, if you want to talk to me, give me a call, whatever, and I will see you next time. Bye.